Hello, welcome back to the RC Pilot's log. While you're away, I've been working on the centre wing section a bit further and added some split flaps. Now, if you follow my Instagram, you would have seen several photos of the stages of this, but initially I wasn't planning to add flaps on the model because I just wanted to save the complexity and keep it nice and light, but almost dropped it there, that was close. One of my Instagram followers convinced me that actually if I wasn't to do it, I'd only regret it in the long run, and actually there'd just be a nice scale feature if the model didn't need them. So I've gone ahead and made the centre section with the split flaps, and here's how I did it. So as you can see here, I've mounted my servos vertically and towards the top of the wing to get the angle of the push rod straight down to the control horn. There were some considerations that the servos would be visible and that I should have laid them down to have them flush and concealed in the wing. However, the fuselage sits in this slot here and comes out around the servos, so they're completely hidden and the whole linkage is hidden. I've used two hinges per flap. Just see them on the back there, and plastic hinges, and then just some 3mm Balsa as the split flap. It's not flush with the bottom of the wing because once I've skinned the wing with the 3mm Depron, they should then be flushed and can be sanded smooth then if needed. I haven't weighed it yet, but they're 2 9-gram Hobby King servos. They're analog plastic gear. Their flaps, I don't think they're going to be essential on this plane. It's going to be nice and light anyway. I never know actually, maybe I'll fly it and it will really be a screamer and need some flaps to come in nice and scale, but we'll see. So I initially had them set up just on my Spectrum DX6i with no delay, no very aggressive opening and closing as you would imagine, but I've got this FlySky Palladium PL18 that I won in a giveaway last year, and it's a fantastic radio. Highly recommend it if you're looking to get a programmable radio and not sure what to get. Check out the PL18 from FlySky. I really like it. It's my first programmable radio. It's 18 channels as the name suggests, and fully programmable. The only drawback at the moment is some of the voice prompts are in a very thick Chinese accent, English in a thick Chinese accent, and it's quite amusing. But let's get this plugged in to the supplied FTR 10 channel receiver that came with the radio, and I can demonstrate them working for you with a 3-second delay. So I've got the flaps set up on channel 6 here, I believe, and I'm using just an old motor and speed controller to power the receiver up for testing on a 3-channel setup, a 3-cell setup, sorry, 3-cell battery. That's a little bit slower than I thought I had it. I'm just going to change the delay setup to 3 seconds and check what the endpoints are, because that's not quite functioning the way it did yesterday. So let's just check that. Okay, yeah, so my channel delay currently set at 4 seconds. 3-second delay. I'm really pleased with that motion there. I think they're great. So I had to cut some slots in the trailing edge to allow the servo horns to move, the control horns to move through the full range I wanted, and I get about 50 degrees at full flap there, which I think will be plenty. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I've also started working on the wingtips, and I was scratching my head quite a bit about how I was going to build these, whether I would to do balsa ribs and skin it like the centre section, or whether there was a way I could just use only Depron, or whether I should do what I have done as a bit of an experiment, is laminating 9 sheets of 3mm Depron together, gluing on a leading edge and a trailing edge and sanding it to fit. This for me seems to be like a really good solution. It's very, very strong now, and I haven't finished the reinforcements, but it's not sanded to shape. It's still 9 sheets of Depron with a leading edge, so there's a bit more work to do on this, and I think it will work really well, especially when it's got a thin glass skin on it. The only consideration is weight, but actually I mean this is really, really light for how much foam is in it, and there's going to be some removed, sanding it and cutting in the servo and control horn linkages and things like that, so it's going to get a little bit lighter in terms of the raw materials, and hopefully that will compensate for the skin and the servo that's going to go in it. I do need to consider how I'm going to mount it with the 5 degrees dihedral, and at the moment I think I'm going to use a ply former that is in the centre section that this can then glue onto, and they're going to be fixed. I'm not going to have them removable, and I think I mentioned that in the last episode. So I'm going to press on with this. I need to get the shape of the trailing edge, the taper down to the wingtip, but what I'm going to do, the flap, split flap is only on the inside, the inner edge of the wing, and then obviously the aileron out to the tip. The aileron is just going to be the balsa trailing edge, and the flap is a split flap. So if I position the trailing edge so on the inside so that the split flap piece fits underneath it nicely, and then align the tip of the trailing edge with the tip of the wing, that will give me a nice nice feather all the way down, and I can use that for my sanding marks. Okay, so the outer flap on one wing is done. This will be connected to the inner flap with just a U-bend of wire there that will actuate this. I've made it about 10mm shorter than the plans so that I can extend the aileron because my aileron is just slightly thinner than the plans, and I want just to make sure that I've got quite enough roll authority there on the control surface. So most of this section right up to here will become the aileron, and it needs to taper down at the end. So a good size, a good length, and I'm going to cut the servo into the bottom half of the wing and run the wire up, and I also need to cut in a spar that will have the 5-degree dihedral angle and mount that into the centre section of the wing, and then I will make a tip out of some blue styrofoam and shape that according to the plans. So I'm going to start work on the ailerons, and I think for the hinges I'm going to flush hinge at the top, similar to how I've done the flap, and actually just bevel the lower edge. There's not a lot of material here to work with. It's a very thin trailing edge because of the scale of the model, so I think that at the moment is my best option, and it also helps that I only have those hinges left, these flat ones. Normally I'd use robot hinges, the round pin hinges, for control surfaces, but I haven't got any, and I can't get any very soon, so I'm going to work with what I've got, use those flat hinges, and they'll work better with this anyway because it is so thin. So I'm going to cut the aileron out, recess the hinges into it like I've done with the flat piece, and recess them into the wing, glue it all together, bevel the bottom, and I think that should be good for this wing, for the control surfaces on this wing. So let's see how it goes. Right, so next I need to make the wing tip. I was going to make it out of blue styrofoam, but I think actually if I'm going to glass it, I'd rather make it out of a small piece of balsa and sand it to shape because I think that will stand up better to glassing. Yeah, that's next, so I'm going to give that a go. And then we'll look at mounting it onto the centre section with the correct dihedral. So just use this digital angle gauge to make a former with a 5-degree upsweep to it. So I'm going to use that and graft it into the wing centre section and then cut it into the outer wing to fix the dihedral. I've also sanded the wing joining edge at a 5-degree angle, so that should give, between those two things, that should give me the correct amount of dihedral. Should give me the 5 degrees. So time to get that former in and glue the wing together, and I think we'll be nearly there for this side. Well, I've not really been filming, but I have pressed ahead anyway. Got the wing mounted, glued on with a spar to reinforce it. Set the dihedral at 5 degrees. I'm really pleased with that. That looks really good. The wingtip is reasonably good. It's not quite the perfect shape. And I have also joined the flap with a metal torque rod. The Aileron works very nicely. Very pleased with that. And the flaps are now joined and on that 3-second delay. It's just about 50 degrees flap. That's all for this episode. Sorry it's been a little bit disjointed. I feel like I've been a little bit all over the place. Trying to push ahead with getting at least one wing tested out. I didn't know if this method was going to work, but I think it's been quite successful. So I now need to replicate it on the other wing. But thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe, and I'll leave you with this shot of the lovely flaps on a 3-second delay.